Hello and welcome back to this series of What If Contemplations for Life Transformation, and today we're heading into what if I chose not to worry. Now this is a huge one, and theoretically the video and the blog to go with this could be a book long, but I'm going to keep it short for you. I want to remind you that because the blog comes first, and I very much write that intuitively, that I have got the blog written out here so I can kind of follow the notes and make sure that you're getting the same information across. So we know consciously that worry is something that doesn't serve us, and yet so many of us find ourselves stuck in, the what if. And we're really kind of missing out on the moment, the joy of today, wondering what's going to happen tomorrow, maybe next month, maybe even in years' time. So from a personal perspective right now, somebody who I don't generally worry very much, but my eldest daughter is learning to drive and wants to take her driving test, and that scares the living daylights out of me, and I have to keep bringing myself back to not being in the worry mode because it just doesn't serve anybody or anything. So let me go through and read you into my blog. And remember that the title is What If I Chose Not to Worry? So can you choose not to worry, or do you believe it's an automatic response, something that's uncontrollable to you? Do you recognise that you feel exhausted from worrying all the time? Is it actually helping you? Do you feel a benefit from it? And what if you chose not to worry? Worry is praying for what you don't want. So I'm pretty sure that I read about this on Facebook, so I don't actually know where it's come from. I can't tell you who that came from. But when I did read it many, many years ago, it really struck a chord for me. So let's have a little bit of a talk about that. Let's talk about the law of attraction, the basic law that says like attracts like. Now in the blog I have given you a link to the law of attraction website. There's some amazing resources on there that I recommend that you get. But basically what happens, the law of attraction describes the fact that we make a decision about what we want, we connect with it, and we think about it, and we act as if, and then bang, we get the manifestation of that thing that we're thinking about. Abraham Hicks talks about something very, very similar. Abraham Hicks talks about how everything that we want is already in existence in this kind of vortex. So I perceive that as like a cyclone. Everything we want is kind of like spinning around in this cyclone. It's there for us to take. But what we must do is keep ourselves in alignment energetically with what it feels like to achieve that which we want in this vortex, and not be stuck in the space in between here and there, worrying about the how, worrying about the when, worrying about the who, worrying about the what if. We just stay in that alignment. And once again, what I've done in the blog, I've given you a link to an Abraham Hicks YouTube video about the vortex. So our main job then to receive is to stay in alignment with the feelings of what we want and not on the how. So worry, if we take those things into account, can surely create those things that we're worrying about happening. Would that not be fair to say? So in terms of energy, negative energy and worry is vibrating in that energy of what we don't want. It brings our vibration down. Now, if you've never heard about this concept of emotions having an energetic vibration, I'd love you to download the PDF in the blog, because that will give you a picture of the energetic cone and give you some idea of the different variations of vibration in the energy that brings us down, like shame right at the bottom, to happiness, joy and enlightenment right at the top. Not only that, but worry is extremely damaging to the physical body. So in the book that I'm reading at the moment, which I'm going to share with you in just a second, there's a quote that says, "Those who do not know how to fight worry die young," and that's by Dr. Alexis Carrel. So what if I chose not to worry? But how can I not worry? People say, "Oh, I'm a born worrier. I'm a born worrier. It's just the way that I am." But is it? So the book that I'm currently reading, which I highly recommend you get. So I'm reading this kind of like for research purposes to help with my coaching, because I'm not naturally a worrier. I used to be. How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. Now, I'll admit that I've spent a lot of effort and a lot of time over the past few years really training my mind to be resourceful and to be positive. Because some of you who know my story know that I spent years suffering from severe postnatal depression. I was in a space where I didn't know how to get out. I felt trapped by what I'd created in my life, an unhappy marriage. I was overweight, I was unhealthy, I was drinking too much, I was smoking too much. And I didn't actually know at the time there's a way out. But now that I do, and it's my passion to share that. Okay? So But I still experience worry. So as I said to you, I worry about my daughter at the moment. And, you know, I think being a business owner, and some of you may resonate, being a business owner is the biggest and most powerfully transforming personal development journey you can go on if you choose to accept it. It can seem a little bit like a mission impossible, right? And in terms of my business, I'm a ruler archetype, so I'm very driven to want it and want it now. I want to get big results, you know, and I want it today, and I want it, you know, I don't want to worry about it, and I want but I'm in that energy. I am worrying about the how. But what this has taught me is to come back to this center and say, what if I didn't worry? Brings me back to the very first episode in this series. What if I chose to trust? Okay. So what happened though in reading this book is that I'm a very visual person, so I read a lot. You probably all know that we create pictures of everything in our head. All of our belief systems have got a little picture attached. It's called our internal, oh gosh, I can't even think of the word now, but it's our internal representation of a belief or of an event. So we have these in our mind all the time, even if we're not consciously aware. So whilst I understand the truth about worrying is a prayer for what we don't want, and whilst I understand consciously that spending our time going into the future or into the past is pointless, I created a very different picture today when I read a part of this book. So I want to tell you the story that's in the book of Sir William Osler, whose life changed in 1871 after reading 21 words in a book. And the words were, "Our main business is not to see what lies dimly at a distance, but to do what lies clearly at hand." It then goes on to explain how Osler formulated what he called the day-tight compartments after speaking to a captain of a very, very large boat. And with the press of a button, the captain could shut off certain compartments. So that was shut. So obviously if there's any water that came around, it couldn't come into the boat. And they could shut off different compartments. So what Osler did was to talk about how we can shut off compartments so we're day-tight. We're in this moment. Because he explains that we must release the weight of the regret from the past, which when we worry about the future becomes heavier with the load of tomorrow, and focus with enthusiasm on the tasks at hand today. So let me read that to you again. Day-tight compartments. We must release the weight of regret from the past, which becomes heavier with the load of tomorrow, and focus with enthusiasm on the task at hand today. So immediately what happened was I've now got a picture of a compartment where it's just today. So tomorrow and yesterday and all the expansive timeline on either side of that are not within my vision. And I focus on how I can manage today, or not manage, but how I can live today, how I can focus, how I can feel, bringing the joy to every single moment. So what if you chose not to worry? Worry robs us of the ability to make decisions. Cast your mind now to a particular worry that you've got, or maybe you can remember one in the past that was really, really powerful for you. And I want you to kind of take a picture of what was happening in your mind at that time. Can you see how it was like the pinball machine? So you have one bad thought and ping, it lights up another one and another one. And kind of you can imagine like the areas of your brain lighting up as you ping from one bad result to another bad result to another bad result. And before you know it, you can't even begin to think clearly. You can't even see clearly. You can't hear anything because your ears are like filled with your own self-talk. You can't make a decision, any decision, yet alone a decision about getting out of that. So again, in the book, Willis H. Carrier describes how, after a business venture that kind of knocked him sideways, he developed what he calls a worry technique that he used for the next 30 years and for the next remainder of his life. So simply put, what he realised was that if he could bring to mind the worst possible scenario and accepted that mentally, that if that happened, that would be what it was, what action then could he take to improve that worst case scenario? So please note, what I'm not saying is, going back to the law of attraction, that he's not spending all of his time in that energy of this could be it, this could happen. He identified what the worst case scenario was, because by bringing that into conscious awareness, he can see that it hasn't happened. It's a potential, it's a possibility, but he could now kind of remove that from his brain, put it on the table and say, right, if I mentally accept that that could happen, What steps can I take now to improve that? So he's changed the energy behind his action, right? So now let me ask you, why are you worrying? Are you spending a lot of time worrying? Is it something broad like, the Mother Earth and the things that are going on in Mother Earth, or your health, or your financial security, or your future, or your job, or your business, or your children? Whatever the case, you know consciously that worrying is doing nothing to change that, to improve that. It's only making you ill, potentially, mentally, emotionally, and physically ill. And you're experiencing those really horrible, crippling emotions inside of you that you can't seem to find a way out of. So let me ask you perhaps quite a difficult question. There's a few questions here, so bear with me. First question is, what does worry give you? Is it giving you permission to not take action? Is it giving you justification for your current situation that deep down you know you want to change, but by worrying you can justify staying there? Or maybe, this is what I see quite a lot of my clients, is it gives them a way to access one of the 6 human needs called significance. So we can actively and positively get significance by becoming a leader in our life and inspiring others, or we can go into a place of anxiousness and overwhelm and worry and get attention that way, because people worry about us. They worry that we're always worried, all right? So very often we don't even realise that we're gaining something from this negative behaviour of worry. And of course, even if we don't have that sort of pain, we don't recognise that gain, you will know that on a deep level, all you're gaining from worry is pain, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So let me ask you these questions. What would change if you chose not to worry? What would happen in your body? Can you get a sensation of what would happen in your mind? Would you live a better life? What action would you take that you're not taking now? What would you have to choose to believe? Can you create a picture right now in your mind where there is worry, and then take the worry out and see how the picture changes, not just for you, but the other people in it, and how it would feel different to you, look different to you, sound and feel different to you? Does your body change? Do you suddenly feel a softness kind of like washing through your body and a clarity come into your brain? Do you breathe a deep sigh of relief, perhaps? So here's the fact. Worry is a choice. Like all behaviour, worry is like a habitual choice. Maybe you was brought up in a household where everybody worried, or your mum worried, and of course it's a very powerful relationship to take. Or maybe you've just been doing it for so long that you don't know how to be any different. You think that this is me, I'm a worrier. So you label yourself something, but let me tell you something. You are not worry. You are not an emotion. You are experiencing an emotion. You are choosing an emotion. And when we become aware of that, we have the ability to change it. Now, it's not easy. It takes commitment. It takes dedication. It's no different to giving up smoking or heavy drinking or whatever. It's a habit that somehow we are gaining from, and we want to make a change about that. So I'm going to share some of the exercises that came in Dale Carnegie's book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And like I say, if you want to get hold of these and print them out, go to the blog, which I'll put in the notes of this video, and write those questions out. Use them as prompts in your daily journal or in your gratitude journal at night time. You don't have to do them all in one go. But if you're truly ready to release worry and bring some freedom and lightness and joy back into your life, give yourself the gift of taking some time to journal on these questions. And I'm going to give them to you now. Now, you may also reject them at first because quite often, as with all learnings, when we realise that we have a personal input into that we have a choice, we can reject it because we want to blame it on something else. Because the minute we have to accept personal responsibility is the minute we say, well, if I don't make a change, I'm choosing to stay here. So I've got 9 questions to give you. I'll go through them relatively slowly, but like I say, you can go back to the blog and find them. So, answer the following questions, all in one go or over a period of a month, whatever. Do I tend to put off living in the present in order to worry about the future? Or do you even spend time thinking so much about this rose-tinted glass garden in the future that you're missing today? Are you holding on to the past and experiencing feelings like resentment or guilt, anger and bitterness? Can I recognise that by choosing to live in day-tight compartments, as explained by Osler, I can get more out of life. When will I start? Be specific. Today, tomorrow, next week, set a date and have an action in place. In this moment of worry, can I dare to accept the worst possible scenario? It doesn't mean that you're saying it's going to happen or that you're going to stay in that energy, but you can say, okay, I'm daring myself to think about that now, because you're worrying about it anyway. So let's call it out. Let's call it out in the cupboard and say, right, I see you. I know that this could happen, but there are a million other miraculous things that could also happen if I choose to focus my energy. Can I mentally prepare myself for that and take action to improve upon it? The next exercise is to write down precisely what it is that you are worrying about. Write down everything that you can do about it to improve it. And finally, decide which of those actions you will take and start immediately. Just like I talk about with clarity, people want to find clarity, but clarity comes through action. Clearing your mind of worry and deciding to take action instead reduces the worry because you're moving towards something. And that in itself will start to buoy your confidence and start to teach you a new behaviour. So as always, in this series, I've got a mantra for you. And your mantra for worry is, I understand that my power is in action and not in worry. I understand that my power is in action and not in worry. So I hope you got something out of that. If you liked it, please do share with your friends. I would love you to leave me some comments. Come over to the blog and leave a comment on there. And if you are not yet in my Facebook group, you can join me at Women Embracing Wealth. Much love, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.